Could a woman who once captivated the world with her effortless charm, radiant smile, and Hollywood glow now be completely unrecognizable? Could Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, the woman who seemingly had it all, be hiding a secret transformation so shocking that even those closest to her were left speechless? In the first few seconds of this story, you are about to witness a side of Meghan Markle that no one has dared to show in full detail. Rare, unfiltered images have emerged, revealing what some are calling her Ozempic Halloween face, a look that has stunned plastic surgeons, insiders, and fans alike. And the most disturbing part? The photos show a woman who, despite millions in the bank, seems trapped in a battle between beauty, health trends, and the harsh spotlight of fame. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. For those who have followed Meghan's journey from a television actress to a global figure married into the British royal family, the story is a mix of fascination, envy, and now, disbelief. We've watched her navigate the glitz of Hollywood, the intricate social rules of royalty, and the relentless scrutiny of the public eye. But even for someone accustomed to attention, the scrutiny around her latest transformation has reached a fever pitch. Everyone wants answers. What really happened to her face? How did she go from the poised duchess we knew to images that are shocking, unnerving, and, some argue, entirely avoidable? This isn't just a story about cosmetic procedures or weight loss medications. This is a story about perception versus reality, about what happens when public pressure, celebrity culture, and personal choices collide in a very visible, very public way. You might think that a woman with her resources, her platform, and the millions she reportedly received from ventures like the Invictus Games could easily maintain a natural, elegant appearance. But the reality, as the plastic surgeon who bravely came forward explains, is far more complicated and far more shocking. What he revealed is not something that can be brushed off as typical celebrity vanity. These are changes that, according to experts, border on irreversible. And yet, Meghan is still in the spotlight, still navigating public appearances, and still managing the narrative around her image. Consider this. Ozempic, a medication often prescribed for type 2 diabetes and increasingly used by celebrities for rapid weight loss, has a set of known side effects that many fail to understand fully. Dramatic facial thinning, a hollowed appearance around the cheeks, unexpected sagging, and even unnatural skin texture are just a few. For some, these changes are subtle. For others, the impact is dramatic, transforming the very structure of their face. And when combined with cosmetic interventions, some that may have been poorly executed or rushed, the results can be startling. That's exactly what the rare, unfiltered photos of Meghan reveal. Lines that were once subtle are exaggerated. Cheeks appear unnaturally sunken, and her overall appearance has sparked a conversation that no public figure wants to have, especially one who is under constant royal scrutiny. You might be asking yourself, how could this happen to someone so wealthy, so connected, and so scrutinized? After all, Meghan Markle's public life has been meticulously curated, from her fashion choices to her appearances at charity events and royal engagements. She knows the value of image. Yet, in these rare images, that carefully cultivated persona seems to have slipped. Insiders tell us that even Meghan herself was taken aback when seeing the unfiltered photographs for the first time. She reportedly cried, overwhelmed not only by the public speculation but also by the visual confirmation of changes she may have long known were happening but never fully confronted. This story isn't just about vanity. It's about identity, about the human desire to maintain control over how the world perceives us, and what happens when that control is threatened. And let's not forget the timing. Right now, the public and media are obsessed with health trends, diet medications, and celebrity transformations. Every influencer, every royal, every star is under scrutiny. Social media amplifies every nuance. One unflattering angle, one comment, one viral post can dominate headlines for days. Meghan Markle is no stranger to this kind of attention, but the rare photos revealed by the plastic surgeon push the conversation into a new territory. These aren't the polished, red carpet images we've seen for years. These are candid, unfiltered, raw images. Images that tell a story far different from the one carefully curated for the public eye. And when a person of Meghan's stature is exposed in this way, the fallout is immediate, intense, and deeply personal. Now, let's dig deeper into why this matters. You might think, why should anyone care about the face of a duchess? But here's the truth. Meghan Markle's face is more than skin deep. It represents the pressures of fame, the intersections of celebrity and royalty, and the intense scrutiny that comes with being a public figure in the modern world. Her transformation, whether influenced by medication, surgery, or a combination of factors, is a cautionary tale about the costs of constantly living under a microscope. And for millions of people around the world, it sparks questions about self-image, health, and authenticity. What does it mean to look like yourself when external pressures push you toward an ideal that is nearly impossible to maintain? From a psychological standpoint, the impact is profound. Experts explain that when individuals see dramatic changes in their appearance, it can trigger anxiety, depression, and an overwhelming sense of vulnerability, especially when that person is in the public eye. Meghan, known for her poise and controlled public persona, is no exception. According to insiders, the tears weren't just about vanity. They were about confronting the reality of being constantly analyzed, judged, and critiqued, and feeling powerless to reverse certain changes. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing a version of yourself that feels like a stranger, while the world watches, records, and comments. That's the reality that Meghan is facing. But what makes this story even more compelling and shocking is that there are images, commentary, and insider accounts that have never been seen before. The plastic surgeon who shared these rare photos claims they show not just changes due to medication, but the consequences of procedures that may not have been executed with her best interests in mind. The contrast is startling. Fans who remember her radiant Hollywood days may find themselves staring at images that seem almost unrecognizable. And yet, there's an underlying humanity in these photos, a woman grappling with choices, pressures, and expectations in a world that rarely grants privacy or mercy. So what happened next? How did these unfiltered images come to light, and why now? There are whispers of insiders who were concerned about the trajectory of her appearance, of photos circulating privately among medical professionals and select media, of a world increasingly obsessed with celebrity transformations. Every story has layers, and this one is no different. There's intrigue, secrecy, and a growing public fascination that is impossible to ignore. But the most shocking revelations are still ahead. What you'll see in the chapters to come are not just photos or critiques, but an entire narrative about transformation, expectation, and the human toll of living in an unforgiving spotlight. Ask yourself this. If someone with all the resources, connections, and money in the world can undergo such a dramatic transformation, what does that say about the pressures we all face in a society obsessed with appearance, perfection, and instant judgment? And more importantly, how does someone reclaim their identity when the world has already begun writing their story without permission? These questions are at the heart of Meghan Markle's story, and they are questions that resonate far beyond celebrity culture. They are about humanity, vulnerability, and the struggle to maintain dignity in an increasingly public world. By the end of this video, you will have seen rare, unfiltered images, heard expert commentary, and understood the personal and public stakes that make Meghan Markle's story so compelling. But before we get there, we need to take a journey. A journey through the transformation, the medical explanations, the cosmetic procedures, the social media reactions, and the deeply personal moments that have led to this tipping point. Each chapter will reveal layers, contradictions, and emotional truths that are rarely shared with the public. And each chapter will leave you asking, what comes next? How far can a public figure go before the pressures of fame, health, and beauty collide in ways that are irreversible? And here's the mini cliffhanger to keep you watching. You've seen Meghan on the red carpet, in carefully staged photographs, always poised and perfect. But what you have not seen, until now, are the images that even the paparazzi, the tabloids, and the royal commentators didn't dare publish. Photos that reveal the stark reality behind the curated facade. Photos that could redefine public perception of Meghan Markle forever. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Could anyone have predicted this transformation? The woman who graced magazine covers with effortless elegance, whose every smile seemed perfectly timed for a camera lens, now faced a mirror that reflected a version of herself she barely recognized. It wasn't just a shift in style or fashion. This was something far more dramatic. Something that left both medical experts and royal insiders questioning. What exactly happened behind closed doors? When Meghan Markle first entered the royal spotlight, the world marveled at her poise, her sophistication, and, of course, her beauty. The Hollywood actress who became a duchess was supposed to embody a modern fairy tale, elegance, grace, and an almost untouchable perfection. And for years, she delivered. Red carpet appearances, meticulously curated outfits, and that signature calm confidence created an image so polished that critics and fans alike often compared her to royalty from a storybook. But the images that surfaced recently tell a very different story. These aren't the polished snapshots taken under professional lighting. These are raw, candid images, ones that reveal subtle lines, hollows, and contours that hint at changes many weren't prepared to confront. Plastic surgeons who reviewed the images described them as shocking and unexpected, noting that even someone with access to top-tier medical care can experience unintended consequences when medications like Ozempic interact with cosmetic procedures. Did Meghan know what she was getting into? Did she understand how rapidly weight loss, combined with fillers or other interventions, could radically alter the structure of her face? Or was this simply the cost of navigating a world where every flaw is amplified by cameras, social media, and relentless commentary? When you look at these photos, the contrast is undeniable. Cheeks that once carried a natural fullness now appear hollowed. Lips, once soft and proportionate, seem unusually taut, almost artificial. And the overall impression, the one that has sent shockwaves through online forums and insider conversations, is a face that seems older, strained, and far from the radiant duchess the public once adored. Some experts have called it Ozempic face, a term that has circulated widely on social media as a cautionary label for those who experience rapid facial changes due to the drug. But let's pause for a moment. Is it fair to judge someone so harshly for changes that might not even be entirely within their control? Could the pressures of celebrity, combined with health trends and public expectations, have pushed Meghan into decisions that produced outcomes she herself may not have anticipated? Insiders suggest that the Duchess is acutely aware of every wrinkle, every contour, every shadow, and that the public scrutiny has intensified the emotional toll. There are reports of private moments where Meghan has broken down, confronting the stark reality of her own reflection. You might wonder how someone with millions at their disposal, access to top plastic surgeons, elite dermatologists, and endless cosmetic options, could experience such a jarring transformation. But herein lies the paradox of celebrity culture. More resources do not always equate to better results, especially when medications, cosmetic interventions, and the human body intersect in unpredictable ways. And Meghan's situation is a prime example of that delicate balance tipping in ways that are visible for the world to see. The transformation wasn't sudden. It was a gradual process, creeping into public perception through subtle changes captured by observant photographers, the occasional candid image, and now, the unfiltered photos released by the plastic surgeon. What makes these images rare isn't just their authenticity. It's the story they tell about a woman navigating the intersection of health, image, and identity under an unforgiving spotlight. Each photograph reveals layers: the medical consequences of Ozempic, the aftermath of cosmetic enhancements, and the emotional strain of seeing one's public persona clash with personal reality. Many have speculated about the role of cosmetic surgery in this transformation. Rumors abound, ranging from minor filler adjustments to more invasive procedures. Some insiders claim that certain interventions were rushed or not executed optimally, leading to asymmetry, exaggerated contours, or other unintended results. Others argue that the medications alone could account for much of the transformation. And the truth? It's likely a combination of both, compounded by years of public scrutiny, stress, and the relentless expectation to maintain an image that is, quite literally, impossible to sustain. What's striking, and perhaps most humanizing, is that despite the public focus on her appearance, Meghan is said to be grappling privately with these changes in deeply personal ways. Reports suggest moments of vulnerability where she has confronted herself in mirrors, perhaps for the first time in years, seeing a face that feels foreign, altered not just by medicine or surgery, but by the immense pressure of fame. Can you imagine that? Looking at your own reflection and realizing that your image no longer aligns with your identity, your self-perception, or the world's expectations. The emotional contrast is stark. On one hand, Meghan carries herself with the confidence of a woman accustomed to commanding attention. On the other hand, these images, unfiltered, unpolished, and brutally honest, reveal the cracks in that carefully curated persona. Lines that were once subtle now tell stories of stress, late nights, and perhaps regret. Cheeks that once exuded softness now appear gaunt. Lips that were expressive now seem tense. And yet, amid this scrutiny, there is a sense of resilience. A woman navigating a world that rarely allows grace for imperfection. Social media has erupted in response to the images. Memes, GIFs, and commentary have flooded platforms, creating a digital frenzy that feeds both fascination and cruelty. Yet, amid the jokes and criticism, there are voices urging compassion, reminding the public that transformations like these are deeply personal and often more complicated than they appear. And still, the debate rages. Is this the result of choice, circumstance, or a combination of both? You might be thinking, how does this compare to other celebrities who have undergone similar changes? Experts point to a growing trend among high-profile figures who use medications like Ozempic to manage weight, while also maintaining appearances through cosmetic enhancements. Some emerge looking transformed yet healthy. Others, like Meghan, experience dramatic facial changes that spark conversation, speculation, and sometimes controversy. The combination of rapid weight loss, cosmetic procedures, and public scrutiny creates a perfect storm, one that leaves lasting impressions not only on appearance, but also on public perception. Even royal insiders are said to be taken aback. They have observed Meghan navigating public appearances with a level of composure that seems almost superhuman, yet behind the scenes, she reportedly struggles with the emotional impact of these changes. What must it be like to perform the role of Duchess, to smile for the cameras, to project grace and authority, while internally confronting an image that feels increasingly unfamiliar? And here's where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. According to the plastic surgeon who provided the rare images, there are certain photographs that are unlike anything the public has seen. In these images, Meghan's face reveals an extreme version of the Ozempic effect. Cheeks hollowed to the point of exaggeration, lips unnaturally firm, and skin texture altered in ways that create shadows and highlights that appear almost surreal. These are images that could redefine how the world perceives her. And yet, despite the shock, there's a sense of human vulnerability. A woman caught between expectations and reality, celebrity and personal identity, appearance and emotion. Ask yourself, if someone like Meghan Markle, with every resource imaginable, can experience such a profound transformation, what does that say about the pressures faced by others in less privileged positions? What does it say about the human desire for perfection, the influence of public opinion, and the intersection of health, beauty, and identity? These are questions that resonate far beyond celebrity culture, touching on universal fears, insecurities, and societal pressures. The transformation is not merely cosmetic. It is symbolic. It reflects the collision of personal choice and public scrutiny, of celebrity culture and human vulnerability, of expectations and reality. And it raises a critical question for the audience. When the world is watching so closely, when every image is analyzed and every change is scrutinized, how does one retain a sense of self? But the most shocking revelations are yet to come. The unfiltered images are just the beginning. Behind them lies a series of insider accounts, plastic surgery chronicles, and emotional moments that paint a picture far more complex than what any photograph alone can convey. There are rumors of procedures gone wrong, of decisions made under pressure, and of a woman confronting the consequences of choices made in a world that rarely forgives imperfection. And what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Could a single medication really change someone so drastically? Could Ozempic, a drug increasingly popular in celebrity circles, be responsible for the stark transformation that has left Meghan Markle's face unrecognizable to millions around the world? At first glance, it seems almost too simple. A single drug causing a cascade of changes that impact appearance, health, and public perception. But when you dig deeper, you begin to understand just how powerful and sometimes unpredictable the effects of Ozempic can be, especially when combined with cosmetic procedures, stress, and a life lived under the unrelenting gaze of the public eye. For those who aren't familiar, Ozempic is primarily prescribed for type 2 diabetes. Its function is to regulate blood sugar and, as a side effect, it can cause significant weight loss. While the weight loss aspect has made it a sought-after trend in Hollywood and high society, medical experts caution that rapid weight loss can have profound effects on facial structure. Fat loss in the cheeks, jawline, and around the eyes can leave a face looking gaunt, hollowed, and even aged beyond its years. For someone like Meghan, whose image is constantly in the public eye, these subtle changes don't remain subtle for long. But Ozempic is only one piece of the puzzle. When combined with cosmetic interventions, whether fillers, Botox, or more invasive procedures, the results can become unpredictable. In Meghan's case, insiders suggest a combination of both medication effects and surgical adjustments may have contributed to the dramatic shift in her appearance. Think of it like trying to balance on a tightrope while juggling flaming torches. One misstep, and the results can be catastrophic. And for Meghan, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every appearance, every smile, every photograph is analyzed by millions, dissected by experts, and criticized by strangers online. Some might argue that with her resources, the millions she allegedly received from various ventures, including the Invictus Games, she could easily afford the best surgeons and medical advice available. But even the most skilled professionals cannot completely control the body's natural responses. Rapid weight loss can change skin elasticity, facial fat distribution, and even muscle tone. Injectables that once worked perfectly may react differently as the face thins. And medications like Ozempic can exacerbate these changes in ways that are not immediately visible, creating a slow, creeping transformation that only becomes apparent over time. It's also important to consider the psychological aspect. Celebrities live in a world where every inch of their appearance is scrutinized. When you add public pressure to maintain a certain standard of beauty while navigating medications and cosmetic procedures, the emotional strain can be immense. Insiders have reported moments where Meghan confronted her reflection with disbelief and sadness. These weren't just tears about vanity. They were tears about identity, about the tension between who she felt she was and the face that the world now sees. And then there's the irony. Ozempic, while medically intended to help, became the very agent that contributed to a public spectacle. Social media quickly coined the term Ozempic face to describe the hollowed, almost skeletal look that can accompany rapid weight loss. In Meghan's case, the term has become a lightning rod, fueling discussion, ridicule, and concern in equal measure. Critics and fans alike have debated whether her appearance is the result of choice, consequence, or circumstance. Was she aware of the potential changes? Did she understand how this drug would interact with her face and her existing procedures? Or was this an unavoidable side effect, amplified by her high-profile life? To fully understand the impact, let's break down what the plastic surgeons observed in the rare, unfiltered images. Cheeks that once carried a natural fullness are now noticeably sunken. Lips appear tighter, more rigid than in previous years. The jawline, which was once smooth and elegant, has a sharper, almost harsh contour. Even the eyes, the windows to her emotions, seem to sit differently in the face, highlighting shadows and lines that weren't there before. For experts, the combination of medication effects and previous cosmetic work created a perfect storm, resulting in a transformation that was striking, dramatic, and, for many, shocking. But what makes this story even more compelling is the contrast between public perception and private reality. While the world sees carefully staged photographs, polished appearances, and curated social media posts, the unfiltered images tell a very different story. They show a woman confronting the visible consequences of her choices, the effects of medications, and the pressures of living under constant scrutiny. And the emotional impact cannot be overstated. Being a public figure in this situation is not just about appearance. It's about vulnerability, fear, and the challenge of maintaining a sense of self when your face no longer matches the identity you've known for years. Experts point out that these transformations are not inherently bad or unnatural in a medical sense. But when juxtaposed with public expectation, the reaction can be severe. People expect celebrities, especially members of the royal family, to maintain a certain level of perfection. Deviations from that ideal are amplified. In Meghan's case, the rapid transformation, combined with her high profile and the rare, unfiltered images, created a media frenzy. And while some have been quick to criticize, others have expressed sympathy, emphasizing the complex interplay of medication, cosmetic procedures, stress, and public scrutiny that contributed to the changes. You might be asking yourself, what about her support network? Wouldn't advisors, friends, or family intervene? According to insiders, Meghan has always been fiercely independent and highly protective of her privacy. Even those closest to her reportedly struggled to address these changes without overstepping boundaries. The combination of autonomy, expectation, and scrutiny created a situation where she faced both internal and external pressures, making the transformation even more emotionally charged. The emotional stakes are heightened further when considering the human desire for control. In a world where so much is public, Meghan's face became both her own and everyone else's. Every line, contour, and shadow was open to interpretation, commentary, and judgment. For someone used to managing their image meticulously, this loss of control, whether real or perceived, can be devastating. And it's that loss, combined with the visible consequences of Ozempic, that makes the story resonate far beyond celebrity gossip. It's about human vulnerability in the face of forces beyond one's control. Now, here's a twist that will surprise many. Not all experts agree on the extent to which Ozempic alone caused the transformation. Some suggest that the changes observed could also be the result of previous cosmetic procedures interacting with medication-induced weight loss. Others argue that stress, diet changes, and even sleep patterns can compound the effect. The point is clear: there is no single explanation. The transformation is multifaceted, a convergence of medical, cosmetic, and emotional factors that culminated in the images now circulating online. So what does this mean for Meghan? How does a woman who has already navigated Hollywood, the royal family, and global media scrutiny manage a transformation that challenges both her self-image and the public's perception? Insiders say she is grappling with the emotional impact in ways that are deeply personal, moments away from the public eye where she confronts the stark reality of her face, her choices, and the world's judgment. This isn't just a story of medication and appearance. It's a story of resilience, vulnerability, and the complicated journey of navigating fame, health, and identity simultaneously. And here's the question everyone is waiting for. What will happen next? Will Meghan try to reverse the changes? Will she embrace them? Or will the public continue to scrutinize every detail of her face, every appearance, every photo? These are questions that remain unanswered. What is clear is that the story of Meghan Markle and the Ozempic effect is far from over. The rare, unfiltered images are just the beginning. The next revelations will dive even deeper, exploring cosmetic interventions, insider insights, and emotional truths that have never been shared publicly. But what comes next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about celebrity transformations, about Meghan Markle, and about the complex interplay between health, beauty, and public perception. And when you see the next chapter, the shock, the irony, and the human vulnerability will be impossible to ignore. Did Meghan Markle really know what she was signing up for? Could the cosmetic procedures, carefully planned or impulsively chosen, have compounded the dramatic transformation already caused by medications like Ozempic? What if the changes we're seeing aren't just about weight loss or diet trends, but a series of choices, some guided, some desperate, that have left a mark both on her face and on public perception? Cosmetic surgery is rarely a simple story. It's rarely linear. Even the most experienced surgeons cannot guarantee results when the human body, medications, and emotional pressures collide. For Meghan, insiders suggest a combination of interventions over the years has slowly reshaped her appearance, subtle at first, nearly invisible to the public, but accumulating into a dramatic, undeniable change. From lip fillers to cheek adjustments, from Botox to more invasive tweaks, the journey wasn't a single event. It was a narrative of incremental change, a puzzle slowly revealing its full image, until now. Reports from anonymous sources close to the Duchess indicate that some procedures were motivated by the desire to maintain a youthful appearance in a world that equates relevance with looks. After all, Meghan was constantly under the gaze of millions. Every public appearance, every smile, every red carpet photograph was scrutinized. There was pressure not only to look perfect, but to appear consistent, to match an image cultivated over years. But here's the contradiction. The very tools meant to preserve that image may have accelerated its transformation. Let's break down some of the rumored procedures. Fillers in the cheeks, designed to maintain plumpness as weight is lost, can sometimes overcompensate, creating a taut, almost unnatural contour. Botox, while smoothing fine lines, can alter the natural dynamics of facial expression, making reactions appear frozen or exaggerated. Even minor surgical tweaks, such as lip adjustments or jawline contouring, carry risks when combined with fluctuating weight, medication effects, and natural aging. For Meghan, each procedure may have seemed like a solution at the time, a way to maintain control over a face that is constantly photographed and judged. But when viewed cumulatively in the rare, unfiltered images, the results are striking. One surgeon who reviewed the photos described the changes as dramatic, almost theatrical, noting that some features appear exaggerated beyond what would be expected for her age or lifestyle. The cheeks are hollow, the lips firm and elevated in a way that draws attention to the mid-face, and the overall impression is one of tension that likely reflects both the interventions themselves and the pressure of maintaining an image under constant scrutiny. It's the perfect storm of cosmetic choice, medication effect, and emotional strain. And yet, despite the apparent transformations, there is humanity in the images. Observers note that Meghan's expressions carry subtle vulnerability, a glimpse of a person grappling with both public expectations and private reality. There are moments, captured fleetingly, that suggest awareness, perhaps even regret, but also resilience. The woman behind the transformation is not merely a subject of public commentary. She is navigating a landscape that blends identity, performance, and self-preservation, all under a microscope. Here's a question for you. Can cosmetic surgery ever truly preserve youth? Or does it risk creating a tension between appearance and authenticity? In Meghan's case, the rare photos suggest a combination. While interventions may have temporarily masked certain changes, they may have also highlighted others, creating contrasts that are now painfully visible. The irony is stark. In the effort to maintain perfection, the reality has become more complex, more human, and more scrutinized than ever. Insiders also suggest that some procedures may have been rushed or experimental. High-profile clients like Meghan often have access to cutting-edge techniques, sometimes before they are widely recommended or fully tested. When these interventions are combined with medications that alter metabolism and facial fat distribution, the results can be unpredictable. For Meghan, what may have started as a desire to preserve youthful elegance may have unintentionally contributed to the very transformation that now dominates headlines and social media conversations. The emotional stakes are significant. Imagine planning an appearance, knowing every detail will be photographed, analyzed, and discussed. Now imagine seeing your face in a rare, unfiltered image, one that strips away makeup, lighting, and careful angles, and realizing that the face in the photograph no longer matches the persona you've cultivated. According to sources, Meghan reportedly experienced moments of intense distress upon seeing these images, confronting not only the physical changes, but also the psychological toll of living a life constantly mediated through public perception. And then there's the public reaction. Cosmetic surgery, especially when combined with medication effects, is often a lightning rod for criticism. Social media exploded with commentary. Some sympathetic, many cruel, all fixated on the before and after. Memes circulated, comparisons were drawn, and discussions about the ethics and consequences of cosmetic interventions became unavoidable. For Meghan, this was more than a personal challenge. It became a public spectacle. Every procedure, every decision, every visible change was dissected in ways that are rarely humane. But the story doesn't stop there. Sources suggest that Meghan's pursuit of a specific aesthetic may have led to a cycle of ongoing interventions. One procedure, designed to correct an earlier alteration, may have set the stage for another. Fillers may have been added to compensate for weight loss, Botox used to smooth lines created by previous interventions, and minor surgical adjustments layered atop one another. The result, experts say, is a cumulative effect, a transformation that is both deliberate and partly uncontrolled, crafted by intention but shaped by unforeseen consequences. What's more, the rare unfiltered images reveal subtle contradictions. While the lower face shows signs of tension and structural change, the eyes, often called the most expressive feature, retain glimpses of Meghan's original warmth and intelligence. This juxtaposition creates an almost paradoxical effect. The face is transformed, altered, and scrutinized, yet it still carries traces of the woman the world remembers. It's a delicate balance between public expectation and personal reality, one that Meghan is navigating under the harshest possible conditions. Experts who have commented on the images emphasize the importance of context. Cosmetic procedures cannot undo the natural effects of medication, weight loss, or aging, and when combined, the results can diverge sharply from initial expectations. For Meghan, this divergence has become visible to millions, an unfiltered account of the intersection between medical intervention, personal choice, and the relentless gaze of the public eye. The story is not just about appearance. It's about control, identity, and the human desire to be seen as oneself in a world that constantly judges. So what happens when the combination of medication, cosmetic intervention, and public scrutiny reaches a tipping point? How does someone like Meghan Markle respond when the face she has carefully curated over years now tells a story she may not fully recognize? According to insiders, there are moments of reflection, confrontation, and perhaps even regret. And yet, there is also resilience, a determination to navigate the challenges, to manage appearances, and to maintain agency over her own narrative. And just when it seems like the story has reached its peak, the most shocking revelations are still ahead. The rare images, the insights from medical professionals, and the accounts from insiders are just the beginning. There are stories of procedures gone wrong, moments of private anguish, and unexpected twists that will challenge everything you think you know about Meghan Markle's transformation. What comes next is a deeper dive into the rare photos, the medical insights, and the emotional journey that has captured global attention. And the next chapter will reveal truths that even the public eye hasn't seen. But what happens when these layers are peeled back even further? When the images are scrutinized not just for what they show, but for what they imply about identity, choice, and control? The answer is coming, and it's more shocking than anyone could have anticipated. What if the photos you've been seeing of Meghan Markle aren't even the full story? What if the images that have gone viral are just a fraction of what truly exists? The rare, unfiltered photos recently revealed by a plastic surgeon offer a glimpse into a version of Meghan Markle that the world has never seen. And, for some, it's almost unrecognizable. These images strip away lighting, filters, makeup, and red carpet staging, exposing a face that reflects not just cosmetic interventions and medication effects, but also the emotional and psychological toll of a life lived under constant scrutiny. The first thing that strikes viewers is how different she appears from the carefully curated photos we're accustomed to. There's a rawness, a vulnerability, a realism that is both startling and deeply human. Her cheeks appear sunken, more hollow than in any previous public images. The lips, once subtly full and natural, now appear slightly taut, the result of multiple interventions that may have overcompensated for changes induced by weight loss and medication. The jawline, which once maintained a smooth and elegant contour, now has sharper edges, highlighting both age and transformation. And the eyes, though still expressive, seem to carry a shadow of exhaustion, a silent testament to the relentless pressure of public life. But it's not just the structural changes that shock. It's the overall impression of her face, which some commentators have dubbed Ozempic Halloween face. The term may sound flippant, but experts emphasize that it captures a very real phenomenon, a combination of rapid weight loss, loss of facial fat, and cosmetic interventions that can create exaggerated or unexpected results. In Meghan's case, the unfiltered photos reveal a face that tells a story of transformation, vulnerability, and perhaps unintended consequences. Consider the emotional impact of these photos on someone like Meghan. Imagine looking at an image of yourself that strips away every protective layer. Makeup, lighting, carefully chosen angles. Imagine seeing a reflection of your face that you didn't expect, one that publicly exposes changes you may have only privately grappled with. According to insiders, Meghan reportedly experienced deep emotional distress upon seeing these images. The tears were not about vanity alone. They were about confronting the reality of living a life where every detail of appearance is analyzed and judged. The images themselves are vivid, unrelenting, and raw. One shot, for example, shows her mid-profile, highlighting pronounced hollows in the cheeks, subtle but undeniable shadows around the eyes, and the tautness of the lips, a combination of cosmetic intervention and natural facial response to weight loss. Another captures her in a three-quarter view, where the jawline appears sharper, creating an almost sculpted effect that some experts describe as unnatural for her age and recent appearance trends. Yet another image portrays her looking directly into the camera with an expression that seems at once guarded and exposed, a rare window into the emotional weight she carries behind her public poise. What makes these photos truly rare is not just their authenticity, but their context. They were shared exclusively by a plastic surgeon who had direct knowledge of her cosmetic history and who insisted on showing the world what the images revealed about structural changes, medication effects, and the interaction between the two. Most of the public images we see of Meghan are carefully staged, retouched, and controlled to preserve a certain perception. These photos abandon that control entirely, offering an unflinching look at the consequences of her choices and circumstances. Medical professionals who analyzed the photos highlighted several key observations. First, the effect of rapid weight loss on facial fat distribution is pronounced in Meghan's case, particularly in the mid-face region. Cheeks, which naturally provide softness and contour, have thinned considerably, creating shadows and a skeletal effect. Second, prior cosmetic procedures, such as fillers and Botox, may have interacted with these changes in ways that were unpredictable, resulting in tension in the lips and jawline. Finally, skin texture and elasticity appear to have been altered, likely exacerbated by both natural aging and the changes induced by weight fluctuations. The combination of these factors creates a look that, for many viewers, is shocking not because it is inherently bad, but because it diverges so dramatically from previous public perception. Social media erupted almost immediately after the images leaked. Some were critical, some sympathetic, and others fascinated. Memes comparing past appearances to the new unfiltered images spread across platforms like wildfire. Comment sections debated whether the changes were intentional, accidental, or unavoidable. Even late-night shows and media outlets began analyzing the subtle details, speculating about medications, cosmetic procedures, and the pressures that might have influenced these decisions. In other words, the images didn't just reveal a transformation. They sparked a global conversation about the intersection of beauty, health, and celebrity. But the story becomes even more complex when considering the personal context. Meghan's transformation isn't merely about aesthetics, it's about identity. Living under constant scrutiny, she faces an almost impossible expectation to maintain a perfect image. Every event, every photo, every appearance is analyzed for signs of change. And when those signs are revealed in such raw, unfiltered photos, the psychological toll can be profound. Experts suggest that moments of self-reflection and private confrontation with these images likely contribute to emotional distress, anxiety, and heightened self-awareness. Now, here's a question for viewers. Could you handle seeing an unfiltered version of yourself projected to millions, dissected, and discussed endlessly? That's the reality Meghan faces daily. It's one thing to experience cosmetic changes in private, but another entirely when your face becomes a public narrative, a symbol, and a subject of debate. And in the case of these rare images, the implications extend beyond simple appearance. They reflect the pressures, vulnerabilities, and unintended consequences of a life lived in the relentless gaze of the public eye. Even more surprising, insiders reveal that these unfiltered images may only be a fraction of what exists. There are reports of additional photos, angles, and candid moments that have yet to be released. Images that could further illuminate the extent of her transformation, the impact of medication, and the emotional realities behind the Duchess's public persona. The public has only glimpsed a portion of the full story, and what has been seen already is enough to ignite debate, concern, and curiosity. The images also highlight a subtle paradox. While certain areas of the face reveal pronounced changes, other features, particularly her eyes, retain glimpses of Meghan's familiar expression. They convey intelligence, determination, and emotion, suggesting that even amid transformation, some essence of the person we recognize remains. This contrast between altered features and enduring expression creates a compelling tension, one that captures the attention of experts, fans, and critics alike. In addition to the medical and aesthetic aspects, the unfiltered images shed light on the emotional and social dimensions of celebrity life. They force us to consider questions about autonomy, control, and identity. How much control can a public figure exert over their appearance when the entire world is watching? How do medications, cosmetic procedures, and external pressures intersect in ways that affect not just looks, but the psychological well-being of those under scrutiny? Meghan's situation offers a rare, almost cautionary, insight into these dynamics. And just when it seems the revelations have peaked, there is more. According to the plastic surgeon who released the images, certain photos depict features that even he found surprising. The degree of hollowing, the tension in facial contours, and the subtle asymmetries were more pronounced than expected, even for someone with a history of cosmetic intervention. Experts emphasize that while some changes may be reversible or mitigated with further procedures, others may be permanent, a lasting testament to the interplay between medication, surgery, and natural physiology. Ask yourself this: what would you do if faced with such a transformation in the public eye? Would you attempt to reverse it, embrace it, or hide from it entirely? Meghan Markle's story is far from complete, and the unfiltered photos offer a glimpse into the ongoing narrative, one that combines appearance, identity, emotion, and public perception in ways that are complex, shocking, and deeply human. But what comes next will push the story further, delving into the emotional toll, the medical insights, and the candid revelations that go beyond images alone. There are moments, accounts, and insider confessions that will challenge everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle's transformation. And the next chapter will reveal truths that even the rare photos only begin to hint at. Could you imagine living a life where every expression, every glance, every line on your face is analyzed, critiqued, and dissected by millions? For Meghan Markle, that is reality. And when the rare, unfiltered photos surfaced, they didn't just reveal a transformation. They exposed the intense emotional toll of living under a constant, unrelenting public microscope. These images didn't just challenge perception. They challenged identity, self-confidence, and mental resilience in ways most people can't even begin to fathom. From the beginning of her Hollywood career to her time as a duchess, Meghan has navigated worlds where public judgment is instantaneous and unforgiving. Even the smallest facial expression can be dissected in tabloid headlines, social media commentary, or late-night talk show jokes. But the unfiltered photos revealed a version of her that felt unpolished, raw, and vulnerable. According to insiders, upon seeing them for the first time, Meghan was overwhelmed, not by vanity, but by the harsh reality that her private struggles and public persona had collided in the most exposed way possible. The emotional consequences were immediate. Reports suggest she broke down in private moments, confronting herself in mirrors that reflected a face she barely recognized. The tears, according to sources, were about much more than appearance. They were about feeling powerless, overexposed, and misunderstood. Imagine the psychological weight of seeing changes that the world scrutinizes, knowing that any reaction you have will itself become public fodder. For Meghan, every glance in a mirror could trigger anxiety, self-doubt, and heightened self-consciousness. Experts explain that rapid transformations, especially when compounded by medications like Ozempic and cosmetic procedures, can significantly impact emotional well-being. When a person's appearance changes drastically and visibly, it's not uncommon for them to experience heightened stress, depression, and social anxiety. For someone like Meghan, who is constantly performing under the public gaze, these emotional repercussions are magnified exponentially. Every public appearance becomes a test of composure, a performance that hides internal struggles from an audience that expects perfection. Social media has amplified these struggles. Memes, critical commentary, and viral discussions often mask the human reality behind the images. While some critics mock or sensationalize changes, others are deeply concerned about the psychological impact of public scrutiny. In Meghan's case, the intensity is unlike anything most people experience. Not only is she coping with personal awareness of changes to her face, but she is also confronting a global audience that feels entitled to judge, speculate, and opine about every detail. What makes this emotional toll particularly poignant is the intersection of health, identity, and public expectation. The rare photos reveal a face altered by weight loss, cosmetic procedures, and natural aging. But they also reveal the emotional consequences of trying to reconcile who she is with who the public expects her to be. This is not merely a cosmetic issue. It's a profound human challenge. Imagine knowing that any vulnerability, any perceived imperfection, will become a topic of conversation, a meme, or a headline that is dissected globally. That is the reality Meghan faces, and it's no wonder insiders describe moments of profound emotional strain. There is also a tension between agency and inevitability. On one hand, Meghan made choices about her body, her appearance, and her medications. On the other hand, the effects of these choices were compounded by factors outside her control. The rapid changes induced by Ozempic, the unpredictable outcomes of cosmetic procedures, and the constant public scrutiny. This tension can create a sense of helplessness, as though no amount of effort or intervention could fully align perception with reality. The result is a potent emotional cocktail: frustration, sadness, and anxiety, all under the unrelenting gaze of the world. Insiders report that Meghan's coping strategies have varied. She is said to have moments of reflection, moments where she reassesses her choices and considers how to navigate the scrutiny. She reportedly confides in a very limited circle of trusted advisors, though even then, the discussions are guarded, constrained by the knowledge that anything could become public. And yet, despite these challenges, she continues to present a composed, poised image to the public. This duality, private vulnerability and public composure, is one of the most striking aspects of her current transformation. Public appearances, in particular, serve as pressure points. Every smile, every angle, every camera flash is a reminder of the scrutiny she faces. Red carpet events, interviews, and public engagements require a performance of control, poise, and elegance, even as internal struggles simmer beneath the surface. Imagine having to maintain this facade while knowing that rare, unfiltered photos exist that capture a more vulnerable reality, a reality that might contradict the image you carefully craft for the world. For Meghan, the stakes are not just aesthetic, they are deeply psychological. The emotional strain is further compounded by the media narrative. Headlines often sensationalize her transformation, framing it as shocking, alarming, or extreme. Social media commentary can be merciless, exaggerating changes and inviting speculation about choices, procedures, and medications. This magnifies the emotional impact, creating a feedback loop where private distress is amplified by public scrutiny. Each day brings new attention, new images, and new commentary, keeping Meghan in a perpetual cycle of evaluation and reflection. Experts in celebrity psychology note that this level of scrutiny can lead to heightened self-awareness, perfectionism, and stress-related behaviors. In Meghan's case, insiders suggest she experiences heightened sensitivity to every detail of her appearance, especially in public or in media coverage. Even small changes in expression or facial tension can trigger anxiety, worry, and heightened scrutiny, both internally and externally. It's a level of pressure few people can imagine, and it underscores the profound emotional toll of living as a public figure under constant observation. But the story isn't just about distress, it's also about resilience. Meghan continues to engage in public life, attending events, making appearances, and managing her responsibilities, all while navigating the emotional consequences of her transformation. This resilience is a testament to her ability to adapt, to manage public perception, and to maintain agency in a world that scrutinizes every action. Yet, as the rare photos reveal, resilience does not erase the emotional weight of change. The contrast between public poise and private struggle is stark, compelling, and deeply human. Now, consider this. Even as Meghan copes with the emotional toll, the world continues to dissect her face, her choices, and her story. Every viral image, every commentary, every meme contributes to the ongoing narrative, shaping public perception in ways she cannot fully control. And yet, she persists, navigating a delicate balance between personal well-being and public expectation. The emotional consequences of public scrutiny also extend to relationships. Sources suggest that her inner circle has been cautious about discussing her appearance, knowing that commentary could be misinterpreted or leaked. This creates an additional layer of isolation, as support networks are constrained by privacy concerns and the omnipresent public gaze. For Meghan, emotional processing must occur under layers of caution, secrecy, and self-monitoring, a mental and emotional burden few could sustain. And yet, despite the intensity of scrutiny and the rawness of the unfiltered images, there is a sense of quiet determination. Meghan continues to navigate public life with grace, even as private moments reveal vulnerability, doubt, and self-reflection. The rare photos, the commentary, and insider accounts all highlight this duality. A woman contending with profound emotional pressure while maintaining an outward appearance of control. But here's the cliffhanger. The emotional toll is not the final chapter in this story. The consequences of public scrutiny, combined with medication effects and cosmetic procedures, have led to moments that insiders say are shocking, even to those closest to her. There are accounts of private confrontations, decisions about her appearance that could have long-term impact, and revelations that have yet to be made public. What comes next will reveal not only the physical changes, but the unseen emotional consequences that have shaped Meghan Markle's life. And the next chapter promises to shock even more. Could money really buy perfection? Could Meghan Markle, with access to millions in resources, luxury surgeons, and top-tier medical advice, have prevented the transformation that has shocked the world? At first glance, it seems obvious. Money should equal options, and options should equal control. But the rare, unfiltered images of Meghan tell a far more complicated story, one where wealth, influence, and access could only do so much in the face of biology, medications like Ozempic, and the relentless pressures of fame. Let's start with the numbers. Sources suggest that Meghan Markle, through various ventures and alleged funds from appearances, endorsements, and the controversial Invictus Games donations, has had access to some of the highest-priced cosmetic procedures available. Private consultations, bespoke surgical plans, elite dermatologists, nothing was out of reach. For most people, these resources could theoretically guarantee a natural look, meticulously crafted to retain youthful proportions and harmony. But here's the paradox. Even with all the money in the world, perfection isn't guaranteed. Biology, medications, and the unpredictable nature of cosmetic interventions create variables no amount of money can fully control. Take Ozempic, for instance. While it's often marketed for weight management, its side effects on facial structure are significant. Fat loss from the cheeks, jaw, and temples can create hollows, shadows, and a skeletal appearance. For someone like Meghan, who combined medications with fillers, Botox, and other procedures, the results were layered, cumulative, and sometimes conflicting. No amount of wealth can fully override how the body responds to these factors. Money can hire the best experts, but it cannot stop the natural reactions of tissue, skin, and muscle. But let's consider the human element. When you have millions at your disposal, the temptation to experiment, to try cutting-edge procedures, or to fix minor imperfections is high. Insider reports indicate that Meghan may have pursued multiple interventions over time, some minor, some more pronounced, creating a layered effect. Each procedure intended to correct or enhance inadvertently contributed to the overall dramatic change. Think of it as a painting where each new brushstroke modifies the ones before. The intention is perfection, but the result can sometimes be unpredictable, even with the best guidance. What's more, wealth doesn't insulate someone from emotional pressures. For Meghan, public scrutiny is relentless. Every appearance, every image, every minor change in her face is amplified by photographers, tabloids, and social media commentary. Experts suggest that this constant observation creates a cycle of compounding stress, where each intervention may be partially motivated by anxiety over perception rather than purely by personal desire. Money can buy options, but it cannot buy peace of mind or control over public opinion. Now, consider this. Could Meghan's extensive resources have been used differently? Could a more conservative approach to cosmetic procedures have mitigated the transformation? Experts suggest yes, but with caveats. Even minor interventions carry risk, and the interaction with medications like Ozempic can produce unexpected outcomes. For high-profile figures, the stakes are higher. The margin for error is narrower. And while money provides access, it cannot rewrite biological reality or eliminate the emotional consequences of living under the public microscope. The irony is striking. A woman with extraordinary resources, including what some allege to be millions from the Invictus Games, may have invested in the very interventions that now contribute to public shock. Insiders suggest that at every stage, Meghan made choices guided by expert advice, personal preference, and public expectation. Yet the cumulative effect of these choices, combined with medication and lifestyle factors, created a visible transformation that even experts found surprising. This is the paradox of wealth and beauty. Access increases options, but it cannot ensure the outcome, particularly when human biology is involved. And let's talk about perception. Public commentary often conflates wealth with control, assuming that money can buy perfect results. But the unfiltered photos challenge this assumption. What we see is a face transformed not merely by choice, but by the complex interplay of medication, intervention, and natural physiological response. The contrast between expectation and reality